The sky over the Middle East once again becomes a witness to the ferocity of Iran's military. The summer air in Israel, which should be filled with the scent of bougainvillea and the laughter of school holidays, has turned into a tense and haunting atmosphere. Tel Aviv, the heart of Israel's metropolitan life, usually glowing with vibrancy and energy, suddenly feels like it has stopped breathing. In many Israeli homes, especially in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, underground shelters are no longer just dusty, forgotten storage rooms. Since the attacks began, those spaces have transformed, becoming refuges, even the only barrier between life and death. Civilians have only about 15 to 30 seconds from the moment the sirens wail to rush into their shelters, just to keep breathing, just to stay alive. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has released footage of missile attacks on Israel. The video shows the launch of ballistic missiles, followed by explosions, hitting their targets deep inside Israeli territory. And this is the day when Israel changes face. 6 straight days of relentless attacks have turned the landscape of Israeli cities into a dystopian image. These cities, once known for high technology and bustling urban life, are now suffocated by wave after wave of aerial strikes. Cities that, for years, stood as symbols of strength and stability, now look eerily similar to the photos of Gaza, long seen on the news. Even those who step out from their shelters walk like ghosts, slow, hesitant, constantly alert. Prime Minister Netanyahu appears increasingly panicked as Iran's attacks grow more brutal, especially after, on June 19th, an Iranian missile exploded in the parking lot of Soroka Medical Center, the largest hospital in the city of Negev. Netanyahu has urged President Donald Trump for the United States to join a military action against Iran. He's stressed that Iran now poses a major threat and that Israel expects active support from the U.S. to help deter further attacks. Meanwhile, the United States has increased its military readiness in the Middle East since June 17, 2025. They have moved dozens of F-16 units from Italy to Saudi Arabia, deployed the USS Carl Vinson and its supporting fleet to the Arabian Sea, and sent the USS Nimitz from the Indo-Pacific region. 2 destroyers are also standing by, ready to defend Israel. The U.S. Secretary of Defense emphasized that this deployment is meant to reinforce both diplomatic and military options, particularly to protect around 40,000 American personnel from the threat of Iranian missile strikes. However, the Secretary did not provide detailed explanations about possible direct military involvement of the United States in the war between Iran and Israel. He only confirmed one thing: there are approximately 40,000 U.S. troops currently stationed across the Middle East, and they are all within Iran's missile range. Meanwhile, a report from Sky News shows a sharp rise in U.S. military air activity over the past few days. More than 30 fighter jets have been spotted operating across Europe and the Mediterranean Sea, indicating a large-scale air mobilization is underway. Some analysts suspect that F-22 Raptor units may have already crossed the Atlantic Ocean, although there has been no official confirmation from the U.S. military. On the other side, in response to potential U.S. involvement, Iran has warned that any American intervention in the conflict with Israel could lead to full-scale war. Both sides have continued to exchange fire for 6 consecutive days. In an interview with Al Jazeera on Wednesday, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai warned that any U.S. involvement would be a recipe for total war in the region. This warning came as crossfire continued between both nations. Meanwhile, China and Russia, in a joint statement, expressed deep concern and strongly condemned Israel's airstrikes on Iran's military and nuclear facilities. They emphasized that such actions violate the UN Charter and international legal norms. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping agreed that Iran's issues especially related to nuclear matters, cannot be resolved through violence. They call for political solutions, immediate ceasefire, and urgent negotiations, especially from Israel, to prevent regional escalation. Amid rising fears of U.S. intervention, Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson warned that the presence of American forces could trigger unpredictable and dangerous consequences. China, too, urged major powers to exercise restraint and help de-escalate the conflict. Clearly, everything could spiral out of control if one major global power, namely the United States, decides to enter the battlefield directly. So far, Iran has not received military aid from any nation. Yet, it seems they are determined to keep fighting courageously, even if they must stand alone.